I'm Chris Brackett, and you're listening to Thinking Woodsman Podcast. Booyah!
Hey everyone, it's your buddy Tim Chelsvik welcoming you to the July episode of the Thinking Woodsman Podcast, the confluence of humor and conscience in the great outdoors. And we're broadcasting from the redsgear.com studio. Gear up for your next big adventure at redsgear.com. On this month's show, we're exploring the phenomenon of gear attachment and extreme carp hatred. Yes, that is a real thing. I've experienced it. Matt Drury from Drury Outdoors swings by the studio to talk about growing up in an outdoor media family, and I'll show you how to rehab your beat-up old 3D archery target. Then we'll talk to Darrell Stiennen from Select Archery about how to squeeze every last bit of speed out of your bow hunting rig. I'll also recap a couple new articles on the Thinking Woodsman website. The first is about what makes a good dog good. The second, the importance of the land we grow up on. Then we'll go in depth on functional apparel with 511 Tactical Zone Stefan Ballage. And in the Select Archery backyard bow range, since it's the dead of summer, we're slapping an ice hockey puck up onto the target and slinging a dirt nap gear broadhead at it. That's what's coming up on the show. Let's go ahead and kick it over into our first segment, the big idea for July. All right, so in the intro, I mentioned gear attachment as part of the big idea for this month. And just as for some context, gear attachment, in my mind, is that strange connection that we form with our inanimate gear, the stuff that the equipment that we use in the field. And it's been happening to me ever since I was a little kid. I don't know if it happens to you, but I have a history. I remember having a hard time letting go of a snowmobile suit I had when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. My Bear Whitetail 2 compound bow that I hunted with in high school, I had a hard time letting that go. I had this crappy old 1987 Bronco 2 four-wheel drive that cost me so much money in upkeep and was always breaking down. And Darrell from Select Archery, that you all are known familiar with, used to have to come and pick me up and help me out all the time. But I love that. I love that Bronco. I love my old bow. I love my old snowmobile suit. And in fact, today, like my running shorts, I'll put 5,000 miles into a pair of running shorts before I get rid of them. There's a connection there. Now I'm experiencing another bout of gear attachment because I'm about to sell my Mathews Creed. Darrell set me up with a new Mathews No Cam HTX, and it's awesome. It's the best bow I've ever shot, and it's time to move my Creed along. And it kind of hurts. It's strange, but it's hard to let it go. And I started wondering, why is that? Am I materialistic? Am I overly sentimental? What is going on here? And I get the feeling that I'm probably not the only one that develops this sense of allegiance or loyalty or just even affection for my equipment. And as I'm thinking about what's there that's causing that, I think part of it is that true, they're just things. They're just objects that can be replaced. If there's a fire, it's no big. If they go up, it's no big deal. But they're artifacts. They remind me of great times, pivotal points in my life, or maybe even important or influential people. When I think of my old Bear Whitetail 2 bow that I've long since given away, and I still wish I hadn't, it's that bad. But I think about going out in the deer stand with my dad when I was in 8th grade and sitting there and just being on edge for hours, just excited, waiting for that deer to come walking through our setup. Those are really important times to me. My Bronco 2, even though it broke down so much, I had a lot of great times driving to ponds and the river with my buddies and going fishing in the summertime. It has such great memories because it takes me back to a particular point in time to particular people. And I think that's what's happening now on another scale with my Creed. I've killed a fair number of deer with it in the past few years. And when you kill a deer, it has an emotional impact on you. And you're sitting for hours on end in the silence, your bow hanging there, you have a lot of time to think, you're looking at it a lot, it's just part of your environment, and then you do something with it that is so impactful on your sense of confidence, on your psyche, on the freezer in your garage, feeding your family. It's so important. And I think it's okay. So this is kind of the evolution of my thinking. Ultimately, I think it's okay to be attached to your gear. Now, there's an end of the spectrum where you probably become more of a hoarder. You have to get rid of things. I think it's good for your soul to get rid of things and give things away, especially if you can give something to someone that maybe can't afford that piece of gear. That Whitetail 2 bow I gave away to a young high schooler that was interested in getting into deer hunting. I didn't need that bow banging around my garage, so I gave it away. But the other end of that spectrum is that you have no attachment, no connection to your equipment, and that just seems, I don't know, that just seems kind of cold and calculated. Maybe other people can do it. It's just it's not me. I form a connection with the equipment that I use to do things that impact who I am and how I see myself. So I have gear attachment. I'll admit it. I'm going through it right now. I will sell this bow. That'll happen. But in the process, I'll probably give it a couple longing looks before I send it along. Okay, so now let's talk about Carp Hatred, because that is unfortunately a real thing. It's not a positive thing for the outdoors community. So I killed that 57-pound grass carp last month, and the videos are up on YouTube. They're getting a lot of hits, which is awesome, but that also means that the higher profile things are, the more feedback you get. And I can't tell you how many comments I've gotten from people just absolutely crapping on the fact that anyone would bother eating a carp. It's true. I took it home, I processed it, I brined it overnight, and I smoked it in the smoker, and it turned out like ham. It's awesome. But these people feel compelled to go out of their way to tell you just how crappy the thing you did was. Now, it's okay to disagree with what people do in the outdoors, and it's okay to have those conversations, but I just don't understand how if I were to if these people would be open to it, and I could have a conversation with them and say, well, have you tried carp? Have you tried processing your own fish that you bow killed? I would like to hear what they have to say. My gut is that they would probably say, no, I've never tried it. It's not worth it. Well, then how do you know what it's going to be like? We have to be open-minded enough to consider other views. Now, it's like going on to a firearms forum and asking a question, what's the best self-defense round for a handgun? Holy cow, you'll unleash a flood of people who know it all and know all the right answers and can tell you why your answers are wrong. We do that in the outdoors community, and it's really unfortunate. And I think what it does is it excludes folks. People are afraid to try things. They're afraid to share what they've learned because there's this group of people out there that are not creating anything. They're just finding a way to crap on everything else. Specifically, in this case, carp. What I'm telling you is do your own thing in the outdoors. Enjoy yourself. If people are going to crap on you for shooting a 4-point buck in the area where you are, but that's a trophy for you, do it. If it's legal, do it. It's fine. If people are going to give you a hard time about eating the fish that you bow killed and you want to and it's legal, do it. Don't worry about it. But as an outdoors community at large, we have to be more welcoming, more inviting than we currently are. And this carp really stirred the pot in a way that I just really didn't expect. So Carp Hatred, it's real. Watch out for it. Don't be an instigator with your own version of Carp Hatred. And so Carp Hatred and gear attachment, those are this month's 2 big ideas. All right, gang, we're happy to have Matt Drury back with us again. And Matt's been on before talking about DruryOutdoors.com and the journal entries that we're creating. The Thinking Woodsman is writing for them. But I'm curious, Matt, please, first off, tell me that you understand how fortunate you are to be working and living in the industry that you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that I think I was 8 or 9 when Mark and Terry first decided to do Drury Outdoors, and I've been around it my entire life. I've been a part of, behind the scenes video shoots. Dad used to do back in the day. This is dating us a lot, but back in the day, you had to do what was called edit decision list, EDLs. And I mean, I remember working on him with EDLs when I was like 12 and figuring out when you needed a cut and when you needed to dissolve and all that stuff. So it kind of set me down my career path, and I didn't even know it at the time. But I'm very well aware of how fortunate and lucky I've been to have a dad and an uncle that are, in my opinion, visionaries in the standpoint of outdoor media as it relates to hunting. I mean, they were some of the pioneers, along with some guys at Moss Yoke and Nightingale and Realtree, and there's others before Mark and Terry's time, of course, too. But I just, to see the evolution of the company, and really it's based on the hard work that they've put into the company. Taylor and myself are very lucky. So I think about it every day. I mean, I've been here 12 years, and I've worked my way up the food chain and internally, and it's not an easy thing to work for family, especially two guys that are, I mean, they're probably, my toughest critic. And it's just one of those deals where, every day I try to make sure that I'm making them proud, and then continuing to uphold the standards of which they set forth, which is to be an ethical outdoorsman and a gamekeeper, and be cognizant of the fact that there's an animal there that we're, there's a life that you're trying to take, and there's a reason why, and the circle of life, and it's definitely not taken for granted.
So let's take a step back, because I want to focus in on something that, when I talk to the average person that watches outdoor television, I think that maybe there's a lack of understanding of really what goes into having an outdoor television show. And they think, oh, it's great, you get all this free gear and you get to do what you love. And that's true, but that's not the full picture. So you weren't necessarily born with a silver spoon in your mouth and this great media, this outdoor media empire that Drury Outdoors is right now. You had to work your way up, and there's a lot of behind the scenes work that probably, if you could, you'd probably push it off to the side and go out and do a deer stand.
Yeah, absolutely. And my role here is to make sure Mark and Terry can be out in the woods, so I handle, the day-to-day business aspect, whether it's marketing, whether it's our production staff, which that's my background and degree is a mass media with an emphasis in production. And, our team, we got 45, 50 guys across the country, the sponsors, I think we have somewhere between 25 and 30 sponsors. We have 4 TV shows. And
you have to work for all those. I mean, the sponsors want, they only want to be with you because of the reach and the depth that you all have.
And the authenticity. I mean, at the end of the day, I think, when a partner comes on board with us, it's not a money grab. It's not a product grab. It's hey guys, how can we work together as a team, as a partnership, and get our message out there? I mean, I think that's a big misconception. I think the reason why there's a misconception there is there's a lot of bad hunting shows. Yeah. I'm just being honest. I mean, there's a lot of bad hunting shows out there.
And what makes them bad?
Well, I think there's a lot of ego that plays a part of it. I think it's more about the person. If they can afford it, they can go buy airtime and have their own show. Sure. That's not what we're in this for. I mean, our whole goal and basic principles are, how can we make the mistakes and learn from them and show that to our audience so they don't have to make the mistake. You know what I mean? Like, how do Mark and Terry go about trying to harvest a mature whitetail or manage their herd or grow a big deer or all those things. It's 40 plus years of them being out there. And in the last 20 years, it's every day from September to January, them in a tree. And a lot of people, I think that's where it's like, I would love that job. And it is. That's great.
Be careful what you ask for.
But be careful what you wish for. I mean, it is a job. It's a passion that turned into a job. And, there's a business that goes with it. I mean, we have, 15 employees or so. And, that's outside of the independent contractors that make up our team. So there's a lot of people that depend on us to execute what we said we would do. And it's not, the days of a handshake deal are over. I mean, there's contracts involved, and there's repercussions if you don't do what you said you would do. So our whole motto is under promise and over deliver. So when we say to a partner, a new sponsor, we're going to do something, we're going to do that and then some. And I think that's why Mark and Terry have built such a good name for themselves in our industry as respectable guys that are going to do what they say. And at the end of the day, I think the viewer respects them because they're out there putting in the blood, sweat, and tears.
Right.
Unlike a lot of guys that just go to outfitters. And I don't knock that. I mean, I've been outfitters plenty of times, but I think the thing and the reason why people like Mark and Terry and Drury Outdoors so much is, by and large, our team and Mark and Terry are doing it on their own. And they're putting in the work and the effort. It's not a theory. It's a working a principle that they're meshing out on the go. Yeah. So I think that's a big difference between us and a lot of people out there.
Well, and for someone, I technically work in outdoor media, but I still consider myself an outsider and someone that is primarily a consumer of outdoor media. And maybe this is just me being cynical, but I always assume people are less friendly than they appear on TV. And so meeting you, meeting Mark, meeting Taylor, I've been happily surprised, and this is the case with other folks in the industry that I've met, that most people are down to earth. Yeah. They're here because they love hunting, they love outdoors, they love wildlife, but they've also found a way to make it into a living and a business.
Yeah, I think that's another part of some of the bad apples in the industry, give you that perception for everybody. And by and large, the people that stick around, the people that have been successful in our industry, the Mark and Terrys, the Lee and Tiffany's, the Waddells, the David Blantons, the Cuz Stricklands, these guys are authentic, nice, genuine people. Yeah. And we're all friends. It's a very small community inside the hunting industry, and we're all friends. At the end of the day, if you're not a good guy, you kind of weed yourself out of the industry within a few years. And I think I think people would be pleasantly surprised. I mean, most of the people in our industry are as down to earth as what you and your buddies would be. If you run into them and say hi at a baseball game or in an airport, at a gas station, whatever, they're going to be nice guys, and that's a pretty that's by and large everybody I've met.
Yeah. Well, that's encouraging to me, because you like to think that people are the way they appear on television. So I'm curious, with outdoor media is changing, and we have so much more access to technology and higher resolution cameras, smaller cameras, drones. How is technology changing the expectations that consumers have of hunting television?
Yeah, it's crazy, because every year it's like something new comes out. Like last year at this time, we, to do a live broadcast, you would have had to do all kinds of things to make that happen. Then Periscope came along, and with a phone and a signal, you could do a live broadcast. And then now Facebook, with its live video streaming, we have 600,000 plus
more than me. Yeah.
And you know what? It's a live, you have basically your own TV station there. So we're doing videos that are getting 180,000 views, 190,000, 50,000, 70,000. That's better than some airings on television. So, it's pretty amazing the ability that technology has given us to reach our consumer directly in live fashion, in up to the minute fashion, whereas television's an older medium where you film it in the fall and it comes out in the summer the following year. There's a wait time. Well, those days are quickly changing, and you better be on top of the trends to stay relevant in our industry.
And for better or worse, I think it opens the door to more people putting content out there. And I've said it before, I really think, though, that quality content will always win the day, regardless of the medium.
You're exactly right. And that's something that, we felt like we've positioned ourselves a little bit differently in the industry from a standpoint of quality of content. I always say content is king. Yep. And what I mean by that is every hunt every episode or every TV show we do, you're going to see something get harvested, get killed, whatever you'd like to call it. Something's going to die. And not every show out there does that. And it kind of always amazes me. It's a hunting show. You better show hunting. And the difference, I think, between us and some others out there is that the quality of hunting on our shows is by and large pretty solid. I mean, mature animals, you're going to catch the occasional youth hunt, or maybe there's a 3-year-old whitetail that somebody harvests, but by and large, I mean, it's 4-year-old whitetails and older. And right. I think the viewer likes to see a mature animal take a rage through the cage, or a Winchester deer season XP through the shoulder. They want to see the kill. And, that's something that we try to deliver in a high-end fashion and make sure they're quality kills.
So I'm curious, we talked about your dad and Mark starting this business and you running the show right now. I wonder what kind of disagreements exist that you think are generationally based.
It's interesting because Mark and Terry, we always said before I came along, I've always heard people refer to them as yin and yang. They are completely different people, but at the end of the day, their ability to bounce ideas off of each other, they almost always come up with what we feel like is the right answer to whether it's a question in the woods or a question in the boardroom.
Yeah.
They because they have that ability to bounce ideas off of each other, and maybe one guy thinks of something the other guy didn't. We feel like that's a really good dynamic. And then since I've come into the mix, it's just one more younger outlook on what the decision may be. So I got to give a lot of credit to Mark and Dad, and Mark specifically. He's very forward thinking from a business standpoint. So he understands that we have to keep up with the times, whether it's cameras and equipment or technology from a social media aspect. If we're going to stay relevant, because we started in VHS days, then it went to DVD, then it went to TV, and now it's going online. You have to be able to change as a content provider and keep up with how people are wanting to access that content.
Right.
And, by and large, it's online now, or on your phone.
So it sounds like both your dad and Mark are more attuned to the consumer and where they are than the fact that we have hunting shows.
Yes.
That we have hunting television shows.
Yeah.
They're not married necessarily to hunting television, but it's just hunting in general and getting people the content wherever they are.
Where's the viewer at? At the end of the day, where's the viewer at? And right now, for the first year ever, we're not doing new DVDs. I mean, this is in 26, 27 years, we've never had a season where we didn't put out an original title, whether it was VHS or now DVD. So, sales dictate what you do.
Sure.
The market corrects itself. The market tells you where to go. And if you're a savvy business person, you're going to follow the market. So right now it's saying, everything's wrapped up in television and now definitely trending towards online. So although television isn't going anywhere, tomorrow or in a year or 2 years, but 5 years, who knows? It may be 3 years. It may be a completely different game. So as a business and a content provider, we better be on top of those trends so that we're not left in the dust.
There's a great parallel there between being a successful hunter and being a successful in your business, because you have to adapt.
You do.
It doesn't matter what you want. You may want a deer to walk out of a particular trail where you set a stand-up on, but that...
He's got free will. He can walk wherever he wants. You better stack the odds in your favor to make him or push him in that direction. So you're absolutely right. You got to be able to think on the fly and adjust your tactics.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, thanks so much for spending time with us talking about being part of the next generation of hunting media. And it's interesting to hear the behind the scenes and really fun for me to see the evolution of Drury Outdoors over the years.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and look forward to the next time we're going to meet up.
Absolutely. Do you want to plug any social media or the website?
Absolutely. So you can always reach us by going to druryoutdoors.com online, and it's a mobile-friendly website. So if you go there, you'll see the icons for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course we have a segment over on YouTube. We have a page, the Drury Outdoors page on YouTube, and we have a segment called DOD TV. And I think if you're an online user of content, you really should check out our YouTube page and DOD TV. We do 2 or 3 unique DOD TV segments every week, and I think people really enjoy them. So check them out.
Awesome. All right, Matt Drury, thanks for joining us on the Thinking Woodsman Podcast.
Thank you.
All right, the Level Up segment this month, we're going to save you a little bit of money if you've got a beaten up and shabby looking 3D archery target out in your backyard. Maybe it's got a big chunk taken out of the vitals and you can't replace it. A tip to save you some money and get some more life out of that thing, and it's a video tip. You can watch this on YouTube on the Thinking Woodsman YouTube channel, but I'll have it here for you in audio form. And the short of it is we're filling the chewed up parts of a 3D archery target with gap filler foam. Take a listen. Here's the trick. This is the target. This is the cleaned out wound channel. I've cleared out all the loose foam, and I'm going to fill it up with some run-of-the-mill gap filler foam. Okay, so I've shaken up the gap filler foam for 30 seconds like the directions say, and they also say that it takes about 15 minutes for it to set up and a full 8 hours for it to cure. So I'm going to fill up the void almost all the way, but not fully, because I want this thing to expand, but I also want it to be a little dense so it stops arrows really well. A day later, and this is the finished product, and I went ahead and filled in this side. It was also eaten up pretty badly. The next step is I'll take a fillet knife and go through and cut this so it's flush with the rest of the target. You can see I've come through and I've filleted off a lot of this overrun here so it's flush with the rest of the target. And at this point it's really just for aesthetics. So you can see that's relatively flush and healed up really nicely and pretty dense also. That's the trick. You want it to be dense enough to stop arrows. If you've really got time and want to go the extra mile and make it look really nice, a little bit of brown paint, because most of the deer I shoot don't have a cream colored spot on their vitals, is not a bad idea. I guess something is lost in not having the video here, but I was not shooting the neighbor's dog because I realized he's barking, then the arrow hits, he's barking, then the arrow hits, and then there's no more barking. The dog was barking across the fence. I was shooting my newly revitalized 3D archery target. Hopefully that saves you a little bit of money and gets you some more time out in your backyard practicing so you're sharp and ready for opening day of archery season. And that, gang, is your level up tip for the month of July. Hey everybody, we're back, and as promised, Darrell Stiennen from Select Archery, and the topic of discussion for this month is how to squeeze a few more feet per second out of your bow hunting rig. Darrell, welcome aboard.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Hey, before we get into the topic at hand, you've got some good news to share with us, right?
I do, yeah. 2 weeks ago, we had ourselves a little baby girl, little Ellie Claire. Welcome to the family.
Congratulations. That is awesome. We referenced it in the June show, so we knew it was impending. It was going to happen. She's gorgeous, just a sweet little thing. I remember when we had Sophie, that had to be one of the most confusing times of my life because 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. are essentially the same thing to a baby. It just doesn't matter.
The baby doesn't care. Exactly. Baby doesn't care. Baby loves being awake at night and sleep all day. That's her routine right now. So we're some tired folks, but we love her to death. She's healthy. Mama's healthy. Everything's good.
Well, we're happy for you, and that baby is beautiful. But let's talk about feet per second. How do we get more out of the rigs that we have? And when you and I first initially talked about this, you expressed some hesitancy about chasing speed. Why don't you talk about that first, and we'll jump into some tips.
Okay, yeah. I don't mind getting everything your bow has to offer, and that doesn't bother me. But when you push the line, there's some safety concerns you have to be aware of. There's a lot of guys who will chase speed to the point where they make their bow unsafe, or they make arrow choices that aren't safe.
What would be unsafe about that?
Sure. Your bow is designed to shoot no less than 5 grains per pound. If your bow is shooting 70 pounds, then your arrow has to weigh 350 grains. So if your bow is 60 pounds, you have to shoot 300 grains. It's 5 grains per pound of draw weight.
Then you're just shooting something that's too light. It's like trying to throw a wiffle ball like you would a baseball.
Exactly, yeah. Your bow feels like it's dry firing if you get too light.
Gotcha.
And 5 grains per pound is an industry standard. That's an IBO standard, it's an ASA standard. That's a number that that a lot of the manufacturers put out there to ensure that you don't go too light on that arrow and put too much stress on the bow. There are companies out there that kind of take that number away with their engineering. There's a company called Carp Archery that in a 70-pound bow you can shoot as light as about a 230 grain arrow if you can build it, and it'll take the abuse. But for the most part, you don't want to go under 5 grains per pound. Even if you're, grabbing that little bit more speed. The other things you can do to kind of make the bow unsafe is a lot of guys will extend the draw length longer than it should actually be. And that's a situation you can hurt yourself, and usually you're just missing faster, which doesn't do anyone any good. The other thing is they put too much poundage on the bow, more poundage than they can handle, to grab speed. None of those things are a good idea. You want to shoot comfortably, you want to shoot proper draw length, and you want to shoot a heavy enough arrow to where you're not going to be hurt.
Yeah, so accuracy and safety should be your driving forces in any of your decision-making process around.
Much rather hit that spot slowly than miss very quickly.
Yep. And so the upside to increase feet per second, more speed out of your bow, is that you get a flatter trajectory. The deer, if you're bow hunting for deer, the deer has less time to react. So let's say that someone is considering safety and accuracy, and they got that. But what are some things they could do?
Sure. A couple of things you can do that will absolutely improve your feet per second on your bow safely is most bows these days come from factory what are called speed knocks on the strings. You've got an older bow that doesn't have speed knocks, and then usually they're brass knocks that are covered with a heat shrink tube material on the string near the cam. The engineers at the manufacturers, they test those locations endlessly. I mean, they'll put thousands of combinations together before they get it just so. So those knocks are measured precisely from the ends of the strings. If you go to an aftermarket string that doesn't have them, or if you have an older bow that doesn't necessarily have them included, you can play with either brass knocks or G5 makes a speed knock material that kind of slips into the string. Some guys use Pine Ridge makes a little nitro button that you can play as long as it's easier to the chronograph, but you can actually play with the position of those in reference to the cam. And eke a little bit more speed that way. Usually you're going to get 5 to 6 feet per second when you get that combination just right on the actual string.
And sounds like something you'd need to do in a shop with a press.
Yeah, generally, and you don't necessarily have to have a press. I mean, to put most of those products on, you would need a press. If you put brass knocks on with the knocking pliers, without much trouble. You don't need a press for that. Problem with the brass knocks is it's a lot of work to put it on and then take it off and try it somewhere else, and they're not easy to move. So they're a little bit more tedious. Those are your solution once you know where you want the weight. Put it on with the brass and you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
Another solution you have is depending on what kind of rest you're using. Some of your whisker biscuits, your hostage rests, your Nap Quick Tune 360, some of those complete the total capture, kind of contact throughout the draw cycle, contact throughout the shot cycle rest will bleed a little bit of speed. A brand new whisker biscuit that's really fresh can need up to about 11 feet per second, depending on your veins and how much helical you have and all that fun stuff. So if you go to a drop weight rest, you're going to gain a little bit there. The other thing you can do is that rubber tube that is on some site that attaches to the cable. It's absolutely necessary in some situations. If you have a price point bow that has an inferior string on it from factory, twists, get a lot of rotation, you almost need it. If you have a bow that has a really light draw weight or a short draw length and the string has trouble holding the rotation, sometimes you need it. But those will eat a lot of speed. out of the shock. It's a lot of weight on the string that you just don't need to have there.
They'll also scratch your cornea if they happen to dry rot and pop on you at full draw.
It's not an if, it's a when. It's a when it dry rots and releases into your eye.
I used to shoot my dad's old Golden Eagle when I was hunting in college because I just couldn't afford my own bow, and I had to keep extra surgical tubing with me in the case because it was just like clockwork. Those things would go.
Yep, and some of the new silicones are better, but they're still going to rot every 6 months or so, and you got to have them replaced.
Yeah, so guard your corneas too if you're using the old school peep sights. Yes.
The other thing that's not your friend is weight on the string in the center portion of the string. So string dampeners, those Ultranox, the metal D-loops are generally very heavy and eating a lot of speed. And then just your overall tune. Keep your timing and your cams correct. Keep the bow as close as possible to factory spec, and that'll keep your speed up.
What about string stops? Most modern bows have string stops on them. Can you move those away from the string a little bit and gain a little more speed?
No, not necessarily. Because if you're effectively, you're gonna keep the arrow on the string just a fraction longer by moving that away. But having that string intact correctly is going to give you a more consistent release point. That string will stop in the same point. It doesn't actually stop if you look at a very high-speed camera watching the string come down.
Okay.
It still flexes past the string stop, but it gives it a more consistent release point. So that's something that's generally important. You don't want to fudge that or take that. You can take it off altogether. You're going to add quite a bit of noise to the bow.
Yeah.
In that case.
Seems like in all these scenarios there are trade-offs, whether it's more sound or more vibration or danger, carbon splinters flying all over the place. There are trade-offs.
Right.
Anything else in terms of tips and tricks to get more speed?
Watch your string wax. If you've got a ridiculous amount of string wax on the surface of the string, that'll slow you down quite a bit. That's just about it, though. I mean, just make sure your bow is functioning properly. Make sure that you have a safe arrow weight, and that you're in a comfortable draw length and poundage, and let the bow do its job. Let it do what it's designed to do. If you really want a really fast bow, start with a really fast bow. That's usually my advice.
Yeah.
You can squeeze a couple more feet per second here or there, but it's generally not enough to affect your kinetic energy or your downrange flight characteristics.
That's right. Yeah. And if you're wanting a really quiet bow because you want to get a second shot at a deer, just practice a lot, get better at shooting. You won't have to take a second shot.
Exactly.
Well, Darrell, you guys have made an update to the Select Archery website. You can now make a purchase on the site, right?
Yep. Our shopping is just in its infancy, but you can purchase lenses online right now.
Infancy? I get it. That was a great joke. Did you see what you did there?
Like I said, I'm tired. I saw it later.
Right. You get a pass.
Yeah. So yeah, that's rocking and rolling. We're adding more products to that every day, and we're actually we're opening our training center in July as well. So we're hard at work there as well.
Cool. Well, we'll have to do an update on that when we're ready to roll that out.
Perfect.
Great. Select Archery, selectarchery.com, on Facebook and Instagram, all the social media platforms. Visit them. Darrell and the gang know what they're doing. And now you can visit them online and begin to order product from them too.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, Darrell, thanks again. Congratulations, you and Tracy. So proud of you guys, and can't wait to hold that little baby.
That sounds good. Thanks, buddy.
Okay, and we're back, and we're in the What's Cooking segment. And in this segment, I like to try to highlight a few of the things that I've written recently, and I have 2 articles this month for you. They'll be linked in the show notes. The first is called What Every Good Dog Earns, and this article has legitimately been in the works for probably 8 years. Back in 2008, we had to say goodbye to our 5-year-old chocolate lab, Mr. Frodo. Mr. Frodo was such a sweet dog. He was like a child to my wife and I, and it hurt so much to let him go, especially so early. Well, I've really struggled over the past 8 years trying to write something that is poignant and does justice to his life, and it just never quite came together. Well, it wasn't until last month where my parents had to put down their black lab. He was just up there in years, and life was really hard for him on a daily basis. And so we took him to the vets and had him put down. And it was only there in the vet's office while we were going through that process that it struck me. And I'll spoil the article for you a little bit, but I would like you to go read it. But I think that a good dog earns the tears of a human. And watching my mom tear up over this dog that she had loved for so many years, it really struck me that that is the ultimate goal and the ultimate metric of a good dog, is that they've earned the tears of a human. So read that. That's over at thethinkingwoodsman.com. And then also on the site, there's another article called For Those of Us Who've Moved Away. And it starts out with me approaching this bluff overlooking the Illinois River where I used to fish as a child, and reconnecting with my buddy Jacob, who we've been lifelong friends, and talking about just what it means to leave the land that you grew up on. And for those of us who have lived most of our lives in the outdoors and love hunting and fishing and the woods and the water, it's hard to move away, and it's like you're leaving a best friend behind. So check out that story. It's called For Those of Us Who've Moved Away. See if that resonates with you. It for me was a way to kind of not only reconnect with the land that I love, but also friends that mean a lot to me, and make sense probably only to those of us who really love the outdoors. That's called For Those of Us Who've Moved Away, and that's also at thethinkingwoodsman.com. Hey everybody, we're back. We're in the redsgear.com studio, and I'm visiting today with Stefan Ballage. Stefan is with 511. Stefan, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So most folks, I think, are familiar with 511 apparel and gear. You guys have a heavy presence in law enforcement and military. Why don't you talk first about what you do with 511, and then we can talk about how 511 got started.
Okay, sounds great. So I've been with 511 for about 4 years now. I cover a couple different territories, Missouri, Iowa, Southern Illinois, and I handle the professional side of our business, which would be the law enforcement side. What is funny about this brand is we actually came from an outdoor perspective. So back in actually 2001, the Royal Robbins brand, that's when our previous owner, Dan Costa, got connected with Royal Robbins, and specifically the original tactical pant, which what came to be. Basically, Dan saw an idea. He saw that professionals or our law enforcement folks were using that pant from the outdoor market in a professional setting. So actually FBI Quantico. And later,
so they're using a climbing pant in law enforcement applications.
Repurposing a pant for their application. So Dan took that pant back in 2003, or that's when 511 was started, formulated it then, and that's when we were kind of born into the marketplace. We just kind of re-engineered and took a core product into a new marketplace.
Okay, and so here you are years later with bags and gloves and pants and shirts and so why don't you talk about kind of just the range of the range of products that 511 have, because it's greater than what I think most people realize.
So a lot of that's driven by our end users. You know, we try to fill a large need from our consumer, because as we expanded from a pant to, back in 2003, we went from a pant to a vest to a hat. You know,
by the way we're talking about, and I understand what you're saying, but I just keep getting this image of one pair of pants and people sharing this and this starting the whole 511 piece. But It's a line of it was a line of pants, the climbing pants, that started this whole thing.
It was actually one pant. I mean, that the original tactical pant, that's what started it all, and that's where we started as a base, and then we developed. People said, okay, can we take that pant and can we change this about it? Can we change this about it?
Yeah.
And then that consumer that got involved with our brand at the time back in 2003 said, what else can you produce? So we took all this end user feedback, kind of like a funnel, and we just started churning out products, which has led to a multitude of categories, from pants, shirts, CCW wear, bags, flashlights, knives, sunglasses, hard cases. So we just keep kind of expanding based on our consumer need. and kind of trying to fit those white spaces in the industry that we do really well in as well. So if we can bring innovation to that category, that's really where we focus on.
So why don't we talk about some of the innovations that 511 has brought to the apparel market?
So we try to look at both the end user, and then plus we have our technical people that kind of look at it from a fabric side or from a development side. The biggest thing comes from the end user. You know, you tell us, hey, I'd like this pocket to be here. I'd like it to be made of a certain fabric that might be more moisture wicking than what I have. We take everything into account, so we actually have people out in the field testing our product for multiple years, giving us feedback so we can re-engineer the next sign or the 2.0 versions of that or totally new products. But in terms of the products, it's really a collaboration. I mean, all of our people out at our dev center, which is in Irvine, California, collaborate with the end users and try to develop the most effective product to fill that need. Some of the things we kind of work on that's actually been really good for us. So our FlexTac technology, which is in our strike pants, and then we've re-engineered them for our Apex line too in a FlexTac canvas. That pant, we've combined some stretch and some articulation through the waist and through the thighs and through the legs. That gives the user more movement, but still keeps the durability and the stretch that people come to love with that strike pants.
So let's geek out a little bit and talk details here.
Okay.
And help people understand the difference between two-way stretch fabric and four-way stretch fabric, and what gussets do on pants.
So what we have built into our strike pant, we actually use a mechanical stretch. What the nice part about a mechanical stretch that we pulled in, so compared to like a spandex, when you take spandex and expand it or pull on it over time, it's going to take that shape. So it's not going to go back to its original state. Yeah, basically. A mechanical stretch will go back to its original state all the time. So that stretch is integrally woven into that fabric, but it's not going to wear out over time. That's one cool feature about it. You've got a great four-way stretch in there, and then we work on gussets. So we've got a nice running gusset or a diamond gusset that we put into a lot of our pants. The Apex pant actually has a new gusset into it that combines more movement with more flexibility and better bar tacking through the region. So it's just trying to figure out what works. It comes through trial and error for us, and that's kind of something we're known for.
You know, one of the things that I kind of benchmark a good pair of pants against is if I'm climbing a tree to hang a stand, or I'm having to hike up, a pretty serious grade, and my legs are at kind of a strange angle, or I'm having to contort myself to get up into a tree, and the pants still feel comfortable. Because that's typically where like, okay, these are good pants, or these were not designed for these movements.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true, and that's kind of where we got at. You wanted, we look at what, from customer feedback, where's our wear out, where are people blowing out the pants, what's their feedback, and that's where the FlexTac was kind of born. We didn't know what we had at the time when we developed them a couple of years ago, back when I first came on board. But that flex is so now become such a standard in the industry that it's making waves right now.
Well, 511 may need to start, if you're not already, producing jeans, and this may be too much information for people, but seriously, in the last 2 weeks, I have blown out the crotch in 2 pairs of jeans.
Yeah. It's true, because it's very static in nature, and you look, if people were to take their pants and turn them upside down and look at it, if they don't have a gusset in there, typically it's going to be prone, depending on the type of movement, it's going to be prone to some stretching or some tearing in that region. So we put a lot of high stress, especially if you're anything hiking outdoors, walking through the woods. Daily commute, depending on your job, you put a lot of stress on those areas, and that's why it's really important that you look at the make of the garment, and you also look at how it's stitched and put together as well. That's something, attention to detail with a lot of companies. Some have great attention to detail. I think we do, and our developers do an excellent job of it. Some not so much, because it might be a little bit more price oriented. But what I've kind of found in this industry, not coming necessarily from any kind of fabric industry, is that what you pay for is kind of what you get in this marketplace.
Yeah. And so when you're looking at a pair of pants or a shirt, or really any piece of apparel on a rack, what are some of the indicators of low quality?
It really depends. It depends on the end user's view of it. Are they looking for a design function? Are they just looking for maybe it's a bag? We'll take a bag as an example. Some people look at a bag and say, okay, I just need something I can shove a lot of stuff in, and I can leave it in my car, and it's just got to sit there. I don't really need it to perform. Now, if you take that same person that says, I'm going on a 48-hour hike, through Yosemite, I need a bag that's going to have a great yoke system to it. It's going to need to have all the bar tackings in place. It's going to have to be able to carry the load. It needs to have possibly different types of organizing pockets based on my needs for the specific trip. So I'll identify that as depends on the mission is what you should define as what kind of quality you want, how you're going to use that product.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to define low or high quality. I mean, there's going to be physical cues between the stitching, the type of denier count they might use on the bag, things like that, some of the technical aspects of it, but it really depends on that user's need.
Yeah. Across my gear, backpacking or hunting or whatever I'm doing, I'm a freak about zippers. Man, I want my zipper, like if ideally they will work one-handed and I don't have to hold the fabric down on one end and pull on it, so you can tell that it's stitched in really well, and that the zipper size is matched for the load that it's going to be under, because I've had plenty of gear over the years where the zipper is the gauge is just too small on it. It rips.
People undermine the value of the value of a zipper in general. I mean, if the zipper comes undone and fails, that bag is almost rendered useless. You could possibly lose very expensive artifacts. Could be your phone, could be your wallet, could be depending on your mission, you could lose something very valuable to you. So it undermines it. That's why we use YKK zippers through all of our products. We want a good quality zipper. We try to take the best components we can to combine both a value aspect, but also give you the quality aspect to go with it. Because one thing that as a consumer of anything, one thing that usually frustrates consumers is when they pay for something and they don't feel like they got what they paid for. So we really try to make sure the two kind of match to where, hey, when I pay $70 for a pair of pants, I feel like I got that and then some out of that garment. So that's what we really kind of focus on.
Yeah, and a piece of gear is only as good as its weakest link. And so if you got a crappy zipper on it, or if you got a pocket that has blown out, then you've rendered that piece
essentially useless, inoperable. So
also, just for the record, let's point out that we're doing a podcast that people are listening to, and we're talking about zippers. So we're geeking out on the details. Let's talk about 511's expansion deeper into the outdoor market. Most of the listeners are bow hunters, spend a lot of time afield, and historically 511 has been around law enforcement and military.
So I'll point back to my early introduction. So we came from an outdoor pant. So that was our original tactical pant. We kind of reformulated, reintroduced it to the professional market, and kind of rebranded it at that time. Since then, we've operated in that space. So the LE, your core public safety, military, things like that. What we found with those consumers is at the end of the day, when they take off their uniforms, they have a need or they have something else they want to do. And primarily what those people are doing is they're going out in the woods, they're going hunting, they're going fishing, they're going hiking. They're very active people. So transversely, it's come full circle. We've gone from outdoor to professional, and now a lot of our products are dipping back into outdoor. We're trying to re-engineer products for that outdoor space. We're taking some of the things we learned in our core market and how we developed our brand and reintroducing it to our consumer side to try and fit their needs as well. Because there's when we look at the word tactical, it traditionally got defined in that LE or that SWAT operator or something like that. That's how people in their heads define
lots of Molly straps.
But when we look and define the word tactical, we look at that as a mission or a mindset. How are you completing that mission day? Whether it's me driving into St. Louis today, how I got here in the manner that I got here, or the guy that works across the way, at the casino, how does he go about his day, and what kind of functions does he need? So we're looking at it a functional aspect, and we're looking at how to complete that mission and make the end of the day count.
I want to know what pair of pants you would recommend for a casino worker who's restocking the shrimp buffet.
what kind of pant? I would go with the most comfortable and the lightest weight. That's what I would go with. So probably the Traverse pant or the Strike pant.
Something you can stuff a lot of shellfish into the cargo pockets near the knees. So the outdoor line, I imagine that there's going to be like Teflon coating and water resistance.
Yep. Yeah, so it depends on the function. Once again, a lot of our pants, we use a Teflon coating for soil and stain resistant. We use high, bar tacking and triple stitching in the high stress joints. We have great cargo pockets. Some are sewn in, some are put on the outside of the pockets. We also use a comfort waistband or an articulating waistband, so you get a lot of maximum movement and comfort through the waist, which is important for that end user.
It's also important if you eat a huge meal after you're done in the deer stand all day to
Exactly.
give yourself a little extra room.
Exactly. So we take some of those features. Some of it is from a lifestyle aspect. So somebody that, in the outdoor market may look at it from, hey, I like just a lightweight, breathable shirt. So we might take characteristics of some of our products and just kind of put tidbits into that product to make it kind of make sense. But you still have an innovational, quality. So we might have the fabric, might have a stretch built into it. We might take a more of a raglan sleeve approach where we have a little bit different motion through the shoulders. We also might do something that's kind of what we work on is, so if you look at our CCW line, so we've got great button-ups, but they're actually snap buttons. So you can actually use it for both a CCW carry or just something that you can kind of peel off in the summertime a little bit quicker, a little bit easier to use. So we try to take what they need and reapply it to that garment.
When I my first piece of 511 gear was a shoulder bag that I use all the time, and I remember as I was looking at it, I was also wondering, should I really be wearing this? Because I'm not law enforcement, I'm not military or former military. Am I going to look like a poser? So talk about that mindset and how you all are addressing that concept of the brand.
So part of our marketplace has kind of shifted. You've gone from that very overt perspective. People wanted it to be known. You wanted it to be known. It was kind of like a brotherhood almost when you wore, a certain pair of pants. People could identify with it. And they still do, and they still always will be. But what we're now focused on, or what we're seeing, is the consumer saying, hey, I've been wearing your pant for quite a few years, and I love them. Can you do something a little bit more low-vis, something that doesn't stand out as much? So I'd really like to wear it to work, or I'd like to wear it in more casual functions while still keeping the functional or the innovational aspects intact. So now we're focusing on low-vis products. So if you look at, I'll take pants, for example. If you look at our original tactical pant with the carabiner strap, and then you go to our strike pant, which is kind of our next generation, now we're evolving into our Apex pants. So now we're pulling some of the ripstop out of that material, so it's a flex tack canvas. We're kind
it looks a little more casual.
A little bit more casual. We're watering down some of the pocket traits. So, you're not seeing flat pockets. You're not seeing a 45-degree angled pocket. The pockets actually has a zippered pocket instead of a flat pocket, so it's a little bit more, seamless.
Sure.
We're just trying to make sure that you keep all the functional aspect that we got from day one with that tactical pant, that it's still present in an Apex pant, but you're just not visibly seeing it as much, so you're not having those physical cues that you might spot in the marketplace.
Yeah, so still retain the functionality, but make it a little more casual so folks can enjoy the benefit of that piece of clothing, but not stand out.
Yeah, we view it as a tool. I mean, that's how I view those pants. It's depending on what you're carrying any given day. You've probably had this when you don't have your pack with you. Where do you put things? So it's an organizational aspect for people's daily lives.
Yeah.
We also are heavily invested with the CCW market too, some of their practical purposes. So some of those functional aspects we put into our pants make sense there too. So we're just taking bits and pieces and trying to put together a really good all-purpose, low-vis tactical pant.
How about social media, the website, where people can go to find out more about 511?
So a lot of people can follow us. We have some Twitter and Instagram accounts. They can definitely follow us there. You'll see us out in the radio waves quite a bit through some of our blogs. A great place to check out is redsgear.com. They carry all of our brand.
I've heard of that website.
You've heard about that website?
Yeah. Yes, I have heard of that website. Yeah, Red's Gear has quite an extensive line of 511 gears, so absolutely check that out. Before we wrap things up, I forgot to mention this, but 511 has a pretty extensive women's line.
Yep. So one of the biggest draws to the market, over the last years we've spread, and most of our counterparts and most of our industry has developed products around the men's side, but a big focus now that we've turned is around the women's side. What do we do? So right now we're focusing on catching up a lot of our men's products and women's products to where they're more synchronized as we enter the marketplace. You'll actually see that when you see our new fall products coming here in about August, September timeframes. You're going to see more of a balanced approach from our consumer side in terms of men and women's products. So now all the ladies have an option with our brand, which is great. A lot of different fits, a lot of different colorways, a lot of different functional aspects from the fit and the fabrics that we're using. So I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited to kind of turn our direction a little bit and focus on that women's market.
I think that's great culturally, because I think what it does is it normalizes women's activities and women's participation in the outdoors. It's not like, they took a piece of gear that's designed for a man, slap some pink on it, and now it's something that I can wear. But really, it's designed and intended for women, just assuming that women are going to be in the outdoors and live an active lifestyle or conceal and carry. It's no longer, you do that too? Oh, cool. Well, here's a pink bag for you.
Well, something that's cool to highlight is actually that we have out in Irvine, our designers, a lot of the products you'll see coming into the women's categories are designed by women themselves. So there's more detail to fit, function. We're using the correct last with our footwear. We're using the correct silhouettes with how we design products. So we're not, typically, the way I understand the market so far is typically it's the shrinking effect. You'll take a men's product and kind of guess on the sizing, but it really doesn't do the fit justice. So now we're completely starting with step one on the women's side and coming to a finished product at the end of that stage gate cycle. So that's kind of the exciting part about it. It's not just hey, we're repurposing a men's product into the women's marketplace. We're designing for that women's marketplace.
Absolutely. Cool. Stefan, thanks for joining us today. If folks want to learn more about the 511 line, again, redsgear.com. There's tons of stuff up on there. You can also visit 511tactical.com, and like I said, we've got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You could follow us there. We're always talking about new products, new colorways that are coming out in all of our products, and what we're working on too, so you can kind of see ahead and kind of see the culture and the brand we kind of work with. Great. Stefan, thanks a lot.
If you listen closely, you can probably hear the droning of my air conditioning unit going in the background. It's July and it's hot, it's humid, but we're in the Select Archery backyard bow range because this month we are melding the worlds of ice hockey and archery together. I have an ice hockey puck on the target. We're going to see what happens when I shoot it at 20 yards with a Dirt Nap Gear broadhead. We'll see if this thing deflects and get full pass through or just partial penetration. So stay tuned, listen closely. It's ice hockey in the dead of summer in the backyard bow range. Holy cats. It smells like burnt rubber over here so bad. Oh man. That's devastating. The arrow punched completely through the puck, and actually ripped it apart in the process. The broadhead is in perfect condition. It's still intact. It's got some black streaking on it from the rubber. But man, it killed that puck. Wow, boy, it killed it good. So that's pretty definitive proof that a Dirt Nap Gear at 20 yards from a Mathews No-Cam HTX will destroy a hockey puck. Now let's do some more gratuitous destruction with this puck. See what we can reduce it to. Oh baby! The arrow went completely through the puck and just left a sliver mark where it went through, just like it stabbed through it and continued on. It's hard to believe that the arrow went completely through this puck. I'll have to watch the slow-mo replay. The slow-mo replay will be on YouTube a few weeks after the show launches in July. So be sure to check out the Thinking Woodsman YouTube channel. But I think we've pretty definitively proven that a Dirt Nap Gear broadhead from a Mathews No-Cam HTX at 20 yards will indeed completely destroy an ice hockey puck, including getting complete pass-through. Thanks for joining me on this hot and humid backyard bow range brought to you by our buddies at Select Archery. Well, that just about wraps things up for the July show here from the redsgear.com studio. But before we say farewell, I need to tell you that we're giving away a Dirt Nap Gear broadhead prize pack this month. The package includes 3 adjustable weight DRT heads. They're Teflon coated and they've got the bleeder blade. These things are slick. We're giving away 2 Dirt Nap Gear koozies to keep your summertime drink of choice cool. And to sweeten the deal just a little bit more, some really slick looking Dirt Nap Gear stickers. How do you enter? Well, it's easy. All you do is hop on over to thethinkingwoodsman.com/contest, type your name and email address into the box, and that's it. Their winner will be announced on the August show, and thanks to our friends over at Dirt Nap Gear for making this prize pack possible. Also, be sure to connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and or Instagram for some cool upcoming developments on this show and adventures I'm having in the field. A lot of times in the summer I'll be out bow fishing. I'm going to try to do some squirrel hunting with the bow real soon. If you want to show your love for the Thinking Woodsman in real life outside of the virtual world, you can do that by going to the website, going to the gear page, and there are some really cool Thinking Woodsman branded ball caps up on the site. You can get yours in County Line Orange or the new blackout version, or you can do both. Well, the sun is setting and it's time to climb down out of the stand and head back to the truck. From the redsgear.com studio, this is your buddy Tim Chelsvik saying, I'm thinking it's time you got outdoors.
You're listening to the Thinking Woodsman Podcast.